I want you to imagine just with me for a moment what's happening when someone is coming back from an event. The company has stepped away and there's been a big motivational speaker comes in. I've been at these events. I've spoken at them. I've been one of the speakers at them. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Some of the big names are paid $40K, $120K, something like that. And you have this rush of feelings that your team goes through, rush of feelings that your organization goes through. And then you're back at the office 6 days later, and you're in the leadership team setting, and you had this big rush of emotions. I mean, there was maybe some laughter, some high fives, maybe some hugs, maybe some crying. That happens. And you're sitting in the meeting, and everyone knows that everyone knows the team leader's dysfunction is to turn on a dime, into a new idea out of nowhere before we've built infrastructure around the last idea. Everyone knows that. And you've come off of this big high, you're in the leadership team room 6 days later, and you're thinking when they come in, there's going to be something different. There's going to be a different interaction. There's going to be a different engagement. There's going to be a different leadership presence. But instead, the leader goes, hey, yesterday I was on this account on X and they had this idea and they did this, or I read this book, and they just start copying that enthusiasm into the organization. Absolutely no shift, no transformation, nothing different. Or they're the kind of leader who keeps people at a distance, uses power to stay over people. And they stay over people in a way that keeps people insecure, afraid of where they stand. And at this event, there's a vulnerability with this leader that everyone has been so hungry for. And you come into the meeting and the leader steps in and they have that same cold distance about their leadership. What's going on? Welcome to YouTube Live Lunch with Chris. I'm so glad you're here. We're doing these noon at Eastern time, so it might be breakfast for you on the West Coast. I wake up early, and I wake up even earlier on Wednesdays, 5 a.m. my time. So I've already had lunch. I had to have lunch at 11, but I do have some coffee, so we'll have coffee with Chris too. I hope your coffee is good wherever you are. Why is it that we buy into this cycle? Why is it that we pay $40K to $120K for a speaker? So much more than that. I mean, some of the big ones I've been in, they're spending millions of dollars to pull all this off. Why is it that we keep doing this? And it's not even about the money cost, right? It's about the cycle that we go through. Every time we go through this hype cycle, we start to inoculate ourselves against future transformation. We inoculate the organization against future transformation because we're selling this message that here we're going to do it one more time. The show's got to go on, and we go through the show and then nothing changes. The best way I could state it is this. Motivation is not the problem. You say, but Chris, I need more motivation. Listen, motivation is not the problem. It's an outgrowth of something deeper. When the something deeper is there, the motivation will be there. You can't bring an external source, even if it's something that is like a speaker inside your company, but you can't bring an external source and expect it to all shift. Now, I believe in collective large moments. I believe in being in the room and people going, something shifted there. But I've also seen too many times when these events occur and nothing really substantive changes, because I've been in some of these big rooms and I've been on the stage at some level with some big known speakers. And I'll ask people afterward, like, hey, what stuck out to you about their session? And they can't remember anything, because so often without awareness, the way all of this transpires is they give people a show, but no substantive transformation. What I see over and over is that hype is not a plan. We look at leadership efforts, and I understand why leaders do these things because they're trying to create like a watershed moment. They're trying to create a moment where everything could be different now. But instead, what they do is make people feel something for 60 minutes, 40 minutes, 90 minutes. But there's no teaching, there's no transformation. And because of that, someone who is excellent at doling out a sugar high every 15 seconds with the turn of a phrase delivers something that fades so fast. It was 25-26 NBA season. It had just ended. The Dallas Mavericks held the number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flag. Championship expectations. The loudest, best covered hype cycle in the league. Every podcast, news column, highlight reel was saying over and over and over, this team is going to contend. And they finished the season with 56 losses. Let that sit. Top overall talent, maximum hype, more motivational content written about them than any other team in the league. And they finished the year as one of the worst teams in basketball. Why? Well, because people approach motivation as something that's external, they end up chasing hype as a shortcut. The reason it's a shortcut is because you can't get to where you want to be without a deeply transformed internal vision that motivation grows out of. That's the only way. You can't bring motivation from the outside in. If that were possible, whenever they invented the auto scroll in social media, and now on videos, you can just sit there and boom, video play, video play, video play. Our world would be a completely different place, wouldn't it? People would get on TikTok for 15, 20 minutes and go, I got to stop and I got to go do my mission. I got to go build my community. I got to go live with purpose. I want to go execute. I want to go pursue greatness. I want to go serve. I want to go to be a peacemaker. Why doesn't that happen more? Because something hasn't transformed at the identity level. So much of what happens that's so misguided is hype. Now, if you saw it, if not, you can go to our YouTube channel. We released it in our newsletter list, Michael, the motivational speaker. And you saw the moment where he's building up the crowd to this emotional intensity. And as he builds the crowd up to this emotional intensity, people start asking for okay, how do I do this? How do I live this out? This ties into what we talked about last YouTube Live. Keynotes aren't dead. Dumb keynotes that are just a big idea. Anybody can propagate a big idea from stage. That's what needs to die. Really teaching through how people transform, that's going to stay around forever. And so what I've seen so many people go through a cycle on, it could be the coach they hire. It could be the speaking that they're watching and absorbing. It could be even the book that they're trying to read, that they're trying to fire themselves up. They're trying to take themselves to a place of, I got to find my way through this. I remember when I went through a season in 2008 when the motivation died, when everything just faded. It was a dark, hard season where I had lost all external motivation. Everything that I was doing was so fueled up to that point by adrenaline, and I didn't know it. I would just get in the hype of what could be, the hype of things that were really happening in my life, third owner of a real estate corporation and seeing some success with that and just different things that were happening. And then going through a period of darkness, of hardship and losing it all. When I held in my hand an eviction notice for the house that we were renting, even though we had custom built 2 homes and we had just custom built our dream home. But as we began losing all this and for the first time had never paid a bill late and was about to lose this house we were renting, and what was that going to do? How was it going to keep my family stable? I felt an emptiness within myself. And that emptiness was me losing all external motivation. And as I lost all external motivation, I was given a gift. And the gift I was given was this, that something for me to live my purpose, something for me to really build relationships was happening at the root system of who I am, the mindset level. And I began to be aware that I had built an identity around success and adrenaline and chasing the next win and chasing the next circumstantial high. And so when a speaker plays into that, when a book plays into that, when videos play into that you watch, if they're not aware of how this works, they can really just try to transfer that external motivation to you. But there's no so what to it. There's no identity shift to it. And I think we know this. And the way that I think we know this is because we replace substantive transformation with really the next wrong approach of just chasing optimization. I think optimization in a weird way is a form of new hiding. Now, I'm all about optimization. I think it was 2007, 2008. The first coach I ever worked with told me about the book 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss. I dove in. I started reading his blog. I mean, I'm OG. I remember way back 20 years ago, he was saying stuff on his blog that sometimes now is just hitting mainstream. But this real transformation that we're talking about and saying is possible, this is a version where you don't have to go to the big ballroom conference to have something transferred to you. And you know that, and you're almost too sophisticated for it, but instead you just stay on this podcast hype cycle. You biohack. You do your cold plunges at 5 a.m. And those are great, and I'm not saying anything about it, but you read 50 books a year because I got to read 50 books a year. And you have a Notion system or an Obsidian system that would make a NASA engineer jealous. But none of your relationships are better. You're not actually seeing yourself live out your purpose in such a meaningful way that you're having fun and you're seeing a cascading impact develop in the way that you show up in the world and you bring your presence to bear on the things that you want to make different. And this is the tell. Because self-help is just another vehicle of hype. If we don't understand how this works, the vehicle can be running, and we never arrive at a destination. We're like on a road to nowhere. Maybe we could say it this way, we're on a treadmill. It's like organization is optimizing, but real impact isn't occurring. So what I'm here to do is encourage you because you're searching for something, that's good, and I want to affirm that. Your organization is searching for something, and that's good, and I want to affirm that. But unless you know how transformation works, you're going to keep showing up in a way that you try to get external motivation, forcing you to live your purpose, forcing you to do better in relationships. But if it's not happening at the identity level, there's no real shift occurring. So let me give you just some application points as a takeaway today that will help you live this out, be in the kind of places, and live the kind of life that allows you to find that internal shift that leads to the motivation you need. 1, replace hype with honesty. Replace hype with honesty. That's why I love the video that we put out, Michael, the motivational speaker, because it was this honest moment where somebody's like, okay, what do we do with this? It's the honesty of acceptance, of saying, this is where I am right now. Yeah, it's not what I want it to be. There's an old ancient proverb that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. That's what happens, right? I mean, that's why a lot of people give up on their dreams. That's why a lot of people don't even have the courage to dream, because they're afraid. They're afraid to be disappointed. They're afraid to be let down. They're afraid to have hope deferred. They're afraid to have their heart feel sick. It is dreams that are the fuel of life. It's the substance that shifts our internal compass. It's what drives me to do what I do. It's what I've seen in the best leaders I've ever worked with shape their ability to find a North Star that they move towards. And truly, in a non-hype way, make the world around them better. They don't chase the hype. They focus on honesty. If you can focus on honesty, you're going to have fun, peak experiences. I'm not here to just rain on that parade and say we should never have peak experiences. This isn't about an immature, half-formed emotional stoicism that we can't soak deeply in the big wins of life. But I can tell you this over and over and over. The first step forward is just accepting whatever's happening. And if whatever's happening creates a gap between where you are and where you want to be, it makes your heart sick. The answer isn't to give up. The second part of that ancient proverb says this: a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. When something that you've longed for to come true, that's a real raw desire, that's in alignment with your internal world, not just external motivation pushed on you, when that occurs, maybe it's that you have a vision for the kind of partnership or spouse or romantic relationship you can have. Maybe it's the kind of vision you have for what it's like to be on a team and love being on the team with the people you're with. Maybe it's to be a part of an organization that has a mission that's in alignment with the depths of your purpose, wherever you find yourself. When that tree is fulfilled, when that longing is fulfilled, it nourishes, it sustains, it provides shade. Application point number 2, measure information, not motivation. Here's what I mean. I'm all for if we're going to get excited. I'm all for if we're going to get inspired. That real inspiration is always going to lead to more character change. It's going to lead to what I shared when I opened up. It's the leader who's going to come in the meeting and go, hey guys, I feel like I'm always pointing us to the next idea. And I don't want to scatter energy across a ton of ideas. I want to help us learn to be really awesome and focus on what is the unique zone of genius we can occupy. It's the leader who comes in and says, you know what? I know there are times that I have been a closed book and I've pushed some of you away, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to get better at being vulnerable and sharing my wins with you and inspiring you, but also sharing my struggles with you and relaxing you so that you know that I don't have it all together, because nobody does. That's what real transformation would look like. And the kinds of leaders who lead through that, we're measuring formation, character formation, not just motivation. That's what we're looking for. That's how something substantive occurs. I love it when I'm in some of these places with people, and if I'm one of the speakers and I ask, what did you take away from their session? And I hear something that they took away that was substantive, that was teaching them something. And I want them to say the same about whatever I brought. I want to ask questions and learn from that and hear what came across. People will come up to me and say, man, that was really powerful. I found that so encouraging. I'm going to say, tell me what was encouraging about that. I want to make sure that we're measuring not just a quick hit, but something substantive that's going to last. Third application point, and this one's personal to us, so you can reject it if you want. I want you to take our validation check before you book your next speaker. Thevalidationcheck.com. You can go to that URL and you can actually find a way to get a measurement on where are the places that you're going to look for an external motivation and external validation. They're going to keep you from having the impact you can have, especially if you're a team leader or a business owner. We've got a calculator there so you can really know what's the cost here. What's happening if I'm the kind of leader who consistently positions our organization for these hype moments, never taking it to a plan that transforms our character. That's how you know something lasts. Something has occurred that matters. It's been worth the time and it's been worth the investment. So, thank you. Thank you for being here, because it shows me that you want to grow, you want to learn, you want to get better. Feel free to throw in the chat what stood out to you the most, or a question. So the question can pertain to what we covered today. The question can pertain to any wide open leadership question you have. And while you're getting ready to post those, I always want to make sure you know of what's happening in our world. May 6th, if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area, we are doing an event from 2 to 4 p.m. You can go to siteshift.com/Columbus. And I'm going to be talking about what matters in terms of human leadership in the age of AI. I think this is a seismic shift, and a ton of things are changing. I don't want you to miss out on that. Also, Follow along on what we're releasing with these characters we're going to talk through in this next section of our YouTube live series. Go watch the Michael, the motivational speaker. Watch for the other videos to drop. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great week. Peace out, everybody.